Welcome to the Trees and Lines podcast, where we discuss fresh perspectives on utility vegetation management. Don't forget to follow along on LinkedIn for the latest news. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. Welcome to another episode of the Trees and Lines podcast. We are continuing to record from the Trees and Utilities 2025 conference, and it's been a great conference. I hope you guys have been enjoying it. Brian Sprinkle is going to be our co-host today. And we're inviting Brett Kasten back. You were here last year. We're going to get an update from you. You were so good, we brought you back.
Last year, I was a long-time listener, first-time caller, and now I'm back. So.
Okay, now you're back. So, Brett, I think last year you gave us a little bit of update and information about GeoDigital. Why don't you, for our audience, new listeners, just give us a quick snippet of who GeoDigital is and who you are.
Sure. So, for the new listeners, GeoDigital is a digital grid solution provider, which that means is we create digital solutions for electric utility customers by combining 3D data, high-resolution imagery, and then our analytics platform and our software tools to be able to create an end-to-end solution for vegetation management use cases, asset inspection, GIS, and really create a digital twin of the electric grid that can be used to make informed decisions.
So give us an idea about the footprint. Are you just domestic, or are you overseas? And
we do.
How big a company?
Yeah, no, we do all of North America. So we operate in parts of Canada and then really coast to coast in the U.S. Heavy presence out in the Northeast, down to the Southeast, and all the way over to the Southwest when we're in the wintertime and we still want to be performing some of our surveying projects. So we pretty much cover coast to coast. We operate about 9 sensors on an annual basis there. We provide fixed-wing aircraft, helicopter-based aircraft, and then we have a really cool vehicle-based platform that allows some of the distribution assets to be leveraged for much different price points than some of the aerial stuff.
Yeah. Now, how long have you guys been in business for?
So this is about our 15th year right here. So we were one of the first ones to give it a shot of strapping lasers and cameras onto the aircraft and start to collect the data. It's been really cool to kind of see that evolve because it used to be more of a, I'll say, a home-built system, and now you have vendors out there providing turnkey solutions. What's really exciting for us is a lot of our customers are actually investing in their own data collection platforms. So we've heard about UAVs or drones for a long time. We're starting to see more and more of our customers purchase systems like that. Same thing with their aviation services groups. There's a lot of people that want to be out there collecting data that's valuable to the utility. And so what's really great about GeoDigital is a software platform we built is agnostic to that. We want to be able to take in data that you capture with your own drone, or if you capture it with an iPhone app, or maybe there's a new sensor going on to a transmission structure. We want to bring that all together so you can make informed decisions.
Okay. So is it a pretty set software suite of packages, or is it totally customizable?
So what we provide is really an out-of-the-box or off-the-shelf solution that allows you then to make configuration changes based on your use cases. So whether there's industry standards or there's maybe a specific California workflow for wildfire mitigation, things like that, you get an out-of-the-box solution that really should provide you about 80-90% of everything that you need to do, and then we make those enhancements. What that does for our customers, we typically host now most of our customers software platforms, so we can speed up the deployment, which is really, really, gets your time to value a lot faster than potentially a big, build project or an IT-led project that requires hundreds of people. And that makes it really a very fast or, an accelerated timeline to get that value back to the folks in the field.
Yeah, so there's a number of competitors, obviously. What would you say is specifically distinguishes GeoDigital?
Yeah, there's a bunch of great companies, right? We view them as co-opetition sometimes because we like to partner with some of them when it makes sense for our customers, right? If you try to do too much, it really can kind of limit how quick you can get things done. So trust the experts, whether it's a partner. So we have a lot of utilities. We like to use the term partners because they bring a lot of great ideas. They bring, tons of domain expertise and credibility. We work with, other partners that have a really great piece of tech potentially on the sensing side of things. And, the thing that does differentiate us the most is the ability to work with all those different components, but also provide a digitized, so create the 3D model of the network, the analytics, and then the software platform. So from capturing that data to turning it into something you can make decisions about, that's really kind of the end-to-end solution that gives our customers the most value.
Yeah. Now, in terms of, it sounds like the software platform has a lot of benefits and functionality thereof, but knowing the utility industry, the adoption thereof of technology, integration, et cetera, and then building that integration into legacy systems, SAP, et cetera. Some of the systems I've seen are DOS-based still, and with the generation facilities, et cetera. But how has that been? Has that been challenging? Has it been improving with the advancements of AI? Just give us a little bit of a window on how do we have a great product, now we need to do something with it.
That integration part to the enterprise systems is really the toughest part of the project, right? They're all different, but you also start to work with other groups that have their own mindsets about, how should we bring this data to maybe take a timesheet over to an actual, invoice for, paying a vegetation trimming contractor. So that's the toughest part, but I think with an upfront design, and again, thinking about designing the minimum viable product to then move data back and forth between systems is really how you guarantee that success. You can make technology do whatever you want to do, right? It's the people and the approach and the processes that then make it scalable,
And the variety of visions, even, inner utility. Different departments view and understand and want something just a little bit different than the next.
That is so true, and that's good to be nimble and agile when it comes to creating your user stories. How are you going to use this in the field? Here's how one of our customers uses it. Is that something you want to embrace, or is it different? And that's okay. It's okay to be different. And that's where that last 10 to 20% of our configuration comes from.
So one of the challenges I know is data acquisition can be very quick, but getting that data into the hands of the end user can be a rather time-consuming piece. Have you tackled that, or how are you tackling that, I guess? Never solve it, but...
You're exactly right. Is the collection always is a very quick component, assuming, weather conditions are right and, operations are running smoothly and safely. Converting those, the raw ones and zeros into something you can make a decision about is really where we're seeing a lot of acceleration. So most of our R&D investment is going into the software platform, which allows you to provide that, that data transformation into something usable. And with the speed that a lot of the AI tools are running at and the analytics, that's where we're seeing the most condensed timelines now to turn things. And you've got companies out here that are dedicated just to solving that one problem. Maybe a great opportunity for, again, leveraging that expertise to turn the data into something faster. What we see is still there's a lot of inconsistency with the results for clients of ours that have tried to do things on their own. And in order to get the buy-in, the adoption, you got to have consistent results that have been quality controlled. So for many of our customers, we're taking most of the time of turning them into usable intelligence, usable information is on the quality control side, is actually making sure there's no false positives, no false negatives. And that is really, I think, the last piece where you still need someone who has expertise in the area to be able to make a decision before it goes over to a forester or a vegetation manager to make a decision about how it's going to support their program.
So what kind of accuracy how do you measure accuracy, and then what can be expected these days?
Yeah, I think still, LiDAR is an engineering grade survey tool, right? You got transmission structures all over the country being built with this technology in mind. So you're looking at 6 centimeters, 12 centimeters of accuracy. One of the things that we really try to make sure we emphasize for our customers is, what do you need it to do? And that can speed up the time to value. If you're not going out there worried about, 6 centimeters or 12 centimeters, but you're making decisions about removals or how to, prune some trees in a manner that is more consistent with a condition-based maintenance program or something like that, you can go faster, make decisions, because as soon as that data is collected, it's got a shelf life, right? You need to get that in the hands of your customers as quickly as possible, because the network changes, the environmental conditions changes, storms come through, and there is a time clock on that data set.
Trees grow.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We know that.
That's 6 centimeter accuracy. Well, they grow 6 centimeters.
Sometimes in a couple days.
Fast. So we're coming up on peak hurricane season. Do you do much around storm restoration, or?
What we like to do is that digital twin we provide to our customers, that then becomes the base data set for everything they need to make decisions about. So, when you think about, well, what did it look like when we put it back up? I think everyone agreed that GIS records at utilities all have a level of improvement that could be provided. And so a lot of times a lot of times we provide that base data set, say, go when your damage assessors are out there, how many poles are down. We can tell you how many, miles of conductors were attached to those poles. Sometimes they think they were constructed on one side of the street. It's actually on the other side of the street. And then we can come by and do a post-damage assessment of what was reconstructed. It's very similar to a engineering project where you're verifying as-built, right? And that allows that utility to then increase the overall accuracy of their GIS, which a lot of these advanced technologies are relying on to be accurate.
On that front, you mentioned the shelf life, and that's a very good data point to talk about. And we said trees grow, things change. Is there a best practice that you've found in your data sets and reoccurring clients having reoccurring scans of frequency of scans, level of detail? We'll just start with those two.
Yeah, no. In this industry, what is great about utility vegetation management is the commitment to technology. And what we've seen is a lot of clients that have done annual data refresh programs. And what we find is sometimes flying those lines year over year gives you a better predictive growth model than potentially other types of forms of estimating that. It allows then you to leverage the domain expertise of the specialists in the area to say, well, here's what what we see in these types of wet conditions, or what we see in this soil type, and allow them to again start to refine the analytics. So we think most of our customers are flying a program now, which that means every year refreshing that data. Then they may decide to move to more of something that aligns with their work management packages. So maybe they're flying 25% of the network. LiDAR is really expensive. It can be enhanced with tools like satellite. So then again, once you get that nice digital twin, you can start to leverage some of the other less precise technologies, again, to give you those informed, that data that allows you to make informed decisions.
And your software systems helps out with the predictive analysis then?
Yeah, one of the trends we're really excited about is we have customers that have been using our work management platform for over 6, 7, 8 years now. And so we have all this work history about what was performed last time. Why did it change? And now we're correlating it with the LiDAR data to be able to say, is this a decision that can be automated potentially? Do we have an established herbicide program? Is the floor conditions warrant any sort of changes to that? Or now are we more into a maintenance? We're not doing reclamation anymore. We're in more of a maintenance style program. And so that can really save a lot of time for our customers. It can allow them still to make changes when they may go out there and do some field sampling and say, hey, we actually are seeing some encroachment here. We need to bring in a different type of equipment. But leveraging the work order history with now the new data that's coming in, plus some of the AI tools that are available, is really allowing us to start to predict, or what I'd like to say is suggest, work that needs to be performed. You always need to have that subject matter expert sign off on it, make a decision, alter the plan, use all of the the great education that they get at shows like this and through all their certifications to make those decisions. So that's the part that I think is going to really probably supercharge the industry moving forward, is being able to then start with a work manifest that may give visibility into resources required, budget that's needed, or show management, here's what we need to get the job done. If we're targeting reliability or we're targeting certain types of conditions, this is something that now the AI is starting to unlock for people.
Yeah, and it sounds like that's a component that I always coin the term of as a living asset, and managing those living assets as such. And if you have that historical track record, you can see exactly where I've spent dollars and cents historically. I've had historical outages, growth rates, etc., overlaid with weather modeling, soil profiles, precipitation levels, historically speaking, that build that long-term vision for utilities to really understand what's happening and where to invest.
Yeah, I think that's right. And we see it in a lot of other similar but different industries, right? The historical data becomes very valuable to different failure conditions.
If it's kept up.
Yeah, that's right. If it's maintained, and again, data, it's the old garbage in, garbage out story, right? So when you have an electronic system doing that, and a lot of our customers have, been on these electronic systems for a long time, there's no lost in paper translation anymore, right? But again, you maintain that, you have to keep up with it, you have to build a program or a process that keeps that fresh, keeps it accurate, so you can trust the decisions that come out of it.
Yeah, and reduce the institutional memory loss that happens through retirements and other attrition.
That's exactly right. And I think, again, this industry, utility vegetation management, does a really great job with the handover, right?
Yeah.
The changeover for newer, projects and, new folks that get into this space looking to use technology to leverage a very important problem for the electric utility industry.
Is most of your work on transmission?
So transmission's been the bread and butter for GeoDigital for years, but what we've seen is the concepts move from transmission down to distribution. Right?
Are they allowing it to go on to distribution because the price is coming down? I mean, there's so much distribution.
It's a little bit of that, but at the same time, it's a lot more of what can we solve on distribution with 6 million miles of overhead wires, right? And so you see all over the country with certainly reliability, safety. We're talking wildfires in California. The economic impact that can be potentially avoided on distribution allows a lot more value to be unlocked for the utilities that want to apply technology, not to 500,000 transmission line miles, but to 6 million miles that are directly responsible for serving the customers with reliable, affordable energy. So we're excited about distribution. It's something that I think the leaders in the industry are moving towards to help update records for the enterprise, manage assets differently, certainly obviously help with vegetation management decisions. And it's going to be a really important aspect, I think, of where our company goes, and certainly a lot of the companies we're seeing here today.
Is there any major regulatory drivers, if you could say regionally or state level, that have been beneficial for these types of discussions and implementation strategies?
Compliance is always a really big driver of any decision to get done quickly. What's really cool is we're seeing in some of the areas that have been impacted by major storms or hurricanes, instead of being worried about cost recovery, we're starting to see them use the data for investment theses, right? And saying, if we spend $5 billion now, we can save $50 billion for the ratepayers over the course of, we'll say 20 years or something like that. So using it more as an investment tool rather than a maintenance tool is a really cool trend that we're seeing for grid resiliency.
That's quite a shift to long-term thinking, which has not always been the strongest.
No, and you never thought that trees and investment in this industry were tied together in some way, shape, or form, but it's good to see that change.
Yeah, I mean, it's really encouraging because, again, we're not talking recovery, we're talking investment, right? And investment can provide a greater return on value for the shareholders. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that is one of the metrics that everybody in this room is responsible for. So it's cool to see that mind shift change. It's different than I think what a lot of people are used to, but you're seeing a lot of leading utilities here in North America, think that way now, and that's really, really encouraging.
Yeah, it's definitely a different day and age with all the integration of technology and then that visionary piece. And the other buzzword that's helping drive that is resiliency, looking at anything that's above the normal blue sky events as a reliability-based system, and then focusing on everything that can impact the grid.
Yeah, I think that's a very key piece of it is certainly, thinking about the trees and the assets, right? It's not one or the other, it's both combined. And really with a comprehensive solution, you can start to tackle both. And then, work closely with your peer departments to solve these problems and make the grid more resilient so we can continue to get, the life that we need out of it.
Yeah, they're operating in the same space.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Well, the entire industry is focused on technology, and it's moving fast. So appreciate your coming today, and I'm going to invite you next year.
Thanks again for having me.
Let's see
Definitely
what's
appreciate
changed.
it. Great conversation.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks again.
Thanks for joining us today. Follow us on LinkedIn for updates and to tune in again to the Trees and Lines podcast.